I don't know how long I was lying there. When I came to, the whole house was in shambles. Miss Ruby was lying on the floor. I called her name and she opened her eyes, just a little, and said, "I'm glad you're safe," in a soft voice. Then she asked me to hold her hand, so I held my hand out. She took it, but there was no strength in her at all. She said, "My son's hand is too big. I can't get mine around it anymore." And I thought, good thing I'm a kid. Then she asked me what it looked like outside. I was worried about her, but I went out to look. It was morning. The whole area was just like the inside of the house, in shambles.
Denzel hung his head and continued his tale, while Reeve closed his eyes mournfully and listened. After heading outside, Denzel turned around and looked at Ruby's house. He could see that all of the windows had been blown out. Looking around, he saw that it was the same with all of the other houses in the area. There were houses without roofs, houses with big gaping holes in the walls. Denzel now knew that it would have turned out the same way, whether he broke the window or not. But he got mad at himself for thinking it.
Miss Ruby went through such a horrible ordeal just to protect me, and here I am acting as if I had nothing to do with it.
When he went back inside, it looked like Ruby was sleeping. She had such a peaceful look on her face. Disconcerted, he gave her shoulders a little nudge.
"Miss Ruby, hey."
She showed no sign of waking.
"Miss Ruby?"
This time, he tried shaking her a little harder. A stream of black fluid dribbled from the corner of Ruby's mouth. Seeing it was a sign of death, he hastily wiped it away. The black stuff was oozing from underneath her hair too. Denzel felt sick. He bolted out of the house, gripped with fear.
"Dad, please. Mom, help me. Mr. Arkham, anybody."
There was nobody left. Nobody to hold his hand and tell him that everything was going to be okay. All he could do was cry.
Hey, don't cry.
Denzel felt a huge hand ruffling his hair. When he looked up, he saw a great big man with a jet black mustache standing there. Behind him was a small truck with around 10 people sitting in the back.
What are you doing here? Didn't you hear them say on the TV to take shelter in the slums?
Denzel felt like he would get scolded if he didn't give a satisfactory answer.
"We didn't watch TV."
No kidding you didn't. We didn't know. We thought we'd be okay. It's the same story with a whole lot of you.
Everyone on the truck had sheepish looks on their faces.
So, you got family?
"Miss Ruby's in the house." The man's name was Gaskin. He helped me bury Miss Ruby in the backyard. The people in the truck helped too. We buried her with her son's books and her sewing kit. Everyone was surprised how deep the soil in the backyard was. They said they usually hit the plate right away.
Perhaps she'd meant to grow vegetables. A lot of elderly folk from the country do that, you know.
I think it was flowers.
Denzel looked at the floral pattern on his handkerchief.
The house was full of flower patterns, and she had lots of fake flowers too. But I think what she wanted was some real ones. She lived in Midgar because her son worked for Shinra. But she just wanted a nice place with soil, where she could plant some flowers and... Sorry, I'm rambling, huh?
Reeve nodded as he listened.
No.
The truck carrying Denzel and the others eventually stopped at the train station.
The trains aren't running. No prospects of them starting up again either. But lucky for us, the tracks still lead down to the city. We should be able to walk it.
Is Midgard dangerous?
Well, I don't know. But I'll take my chances with good old solid ground.
He turned to Denzel.
Careful you don't slip. Everybody's hit hard right now. You gotta look after yourself.
The truck did a U-turn and left. A large crowd had gathered in the terminal. The white light had affected the whole of Midgard. Those who had lost their homes retreated there, as well as those who thought the whole city might collapse around them. Even so, many of them were hesitant to walk down the tracks to the ground. There were no cheers to be heard that Meteor was gone. Instead, people shouted their grievances with the botched and belated evacuation order. Denzel thought to himself that it was good that his father wasn't here to listen to this. He waded through the crowd to the platform and fell in with the procession down the tracks. He didn't know what was in store below, but seeing that Gaskin was the only one showing the way, doing as he said seemed like the best course of action.
We didn't know what lay ahead, but the only person leading was Gaskin. It was obvious that we had no other choice but to follow him.
Between rails and cross ties, laid atop iron struts, Denzel could see the ground far below. They were far enough up that falling meant certain death, so he made his descent cautiously. The railway spiraled down around Midgard's perimeter, and it was sickeningly long. But with his mind focused on keeping his footing, he never had to think about it. Suddenly, they seemed to have come to a dead end. The adults had come to a halt. It was like being in a traffic jam. When he made his way to the front of the crowd, there was a boy of about 3 sitting precariously between the rails with his legs out in front of him.
If he was the cause of our delay, then I thought we could have just gone around him.
Where's your mama?
Suddenly, the boy started crying and yelling.
Mama.
He tried to peer down below. He lost his balance and looked like he was about to fall, so Denzel darted forward and grabbed his arm.
Hey, that kid, he's marked.
Don't touch him. You'll catch it.
Denzel had no idea what they were saying.
Hey, clear the road!
Denzel looked up like he wanted to object to whoever said that, but he didn't see who it was. With no other choice, he put his hands on the boy's waist and dragged him onto the iron plate where it was safer.
I was wondering why no one helped, but I soon realized the reason why. The boy's back was soaked in a black substance.
The path was now clear, so people started to walk again. The boy kept crying.
Mama, it hurts.
Denzel remembered someone saying, "You'll catch it." He wanted to cry. He was furious at the boy, but he immediately remembered Ruby, how he had felt ill when the same black fluid came out of her, even though she had been so kind to him, how he got scared and ran off. His heart was filled with guilt.
That was why I planned to wipe that sin away by helping the boy. I wanted Ruby to forgive me.
Denzel knelt down next to him.
Where's it hurt?
Back there.
Your back hurts?
He carefully placed his hand on the boy's back.
When I had a sore tummy, Mom would rub it for me, and the pain would go away. She did the same if I bumped into things. I might be able to use some of Mom's magic too.
Denzel did his best to ignore the sticky black substance and started to rub. Although it was painful at first, the boy soon fell asleep. For 3 hours, maybe even longer, he continued to rub, taking breaks now and then. People ignored Denzel and the boy as they descended the tracks.
He's dead, you know.
Looking up, he saw the tired face of a woman. She had a baby fastened around her chest, and a girl about Denzel's age was holding her hand.
That shirt looks like a girl's. It's so weird, isn't it, Mama?
Without uttering a word, The woman helped her daughter out of her blue jacket and held it out to Denzel.
Put this over him.
The little girl was relieved. She had been bundled up in 3 layers of clothes and was soaked with sweat.
You can have it. It belongs to my big sister. That's why it's so big.
Denzel looked at the boy, curled up asleep next to him. It didn't sound like he was breathing. Denzel was completely out of strength. The little girl took the jacket from her mother and wrapped it around the boy. His body was now completely hidden from view.
He's with my big sister now.
Thank you.
Just saying that took all the energy he had. The mother started walking again, and the little girl followed her. She slid her hand into her mother's. Both their hands were dyed jet black. Gazing at the chocobo on the bag the little girl was carrying, Denzel thought to himself,
Were they all going to die crying in pain with that black stuff flowing out? Was everyone going to die because they're ill?
Back then, we didn't know a thing about the stigma. People exposed to the life stream oozed ichor from their bodies and died. Some said it spread through skin contact. Actually, it was remnants of Genova mixed in the life stream. Well, even if people knew, it would have made no difference.
Right. Especially to a kid.
Yeah.
Up there on the tracks, I thought, I wish I was grown up. Even if it meant just one less time I spent thinking about something I could never understand.
Denzel absent-mindedly watched the people who fled to the station in the slums. One by one, they descended from the upper levels. And still they kept walking as if they believed stopping would be their end. While he knew he should do the same, he couldn't abandon the hope he might run into a familiar face if he stayed put. All that drove Denzel while he was in that limbo was unbearable hunger. Walking around the outside of the terminal looking for food, he saw a pile of goods stacked up a short distance away. Further on, he saw several men working away at something. It seemed they were digging a hole. The smell of decay hung in the air. A man came over carrying a young woman on his shoulders and gently lowered her into the hole. It was a makeshift grave. As Denzel made a hasty exit, he spotted a familiar backpack among the pile of goods. It had a picture of a chocobo on it. He was somehow compelled to pick up the bag and open it. Inside were some cookies and chocolate. Denzel thought about the little girl who owned it.
She's gone now.